Before I get started, I'm just going to pull up our generic interview questions that I've been not even looking at these days.
Nice.
Bams, you ready? Let's go. This is Inside with Outsiders. I'm Jeremy Asgari, and this is KR Jones, movement artist. And if you're not sure what a movement artist is, keep watching.
What's up, man? Thank you for having me.
I appreciate you coming through. One of the things about you is that I really don't know anything about you.
Yes.
Which is great because sometimes I know a lot about the people here, so I have like a skewed vision as to the direction of this conversation, right?
Yeah.
But when I don't know somebody, it's kind of like fluid. It's like, we'll see where it goes. And this is about to be real fluid because I met you, Jamal. You met Jamal, actually, a team member of ours at an event, and he said, you got to connect with KR. So we did.
Nice. Yeah, man, that was a great event. One of those, wellness events, if you will. And I was like, you find the people you connect with.
Right.
And those tend to be the realest people. So I appreciate that.
So what was that? When you say, and I think I understand already. Yeah. But when you say wellness event, you're like,
man.
Tell me, what do you mean by that?
Being a wellness professional for so long, especially in New York, you get into those parties, and those parties are, invite only, the blue check, 100 million followers, and it's like, oh, who are you? My bad. You know what I mean? That type of place.
The wellness stamp is this basically a trend to make it seem like there's some sort of benefit to it, Yeah. And I heard the event was amazing, but I mean, would you have classified it as a great event or a wellness event?
I would classify it as a great event. There was wellness there. Don't get me wrong. Like, people try to plug it in, but I think the blanket of what wellness is so vast that it's hard to just put it in one place.
Right.
So it was a great event. It's not how I would have did it.
Right.
You know what I mean? But it was a good time.
So you say you've been in the health and wellness field for years. What do you do?
Man, so
let's kind of dabble into what a movement artist does.
For sure, 100%. First, movement artist to me would be more so along the lines of, I studied kinesiology in college. So my degree is in, the study of the body, movement, anatomy and physiology, things of that nature. With that, I've been injured a lot. I was an athlete my whole life.
Sport?
Basketball, football. Tore my ACL in football.
High school?
High school, 16 years old, got knee surgery. Tore it again my senior year of college.
Where'd you play in college?
I went to LIU Brooklyn.
Okay.
Downtown.
What year?
I was there from 2009 to like 2014.
A bunch of friends of mine that played basketball there, but in like 98, 99,
I'm a young gent, but I got an old soul, you know what I mean? But man, I toured again my senior year in college. I walked onto the team, D1 team at that time, and it was one of those life-changing moments of like, why does this happen? How can I prevent it? What can I do moving forward? And it brought me to yoga and recovery and mobility and all these other things. So mixing that with graduating and trying to find a job, like I studied the body. Like, you either can be a gym teacher or train a professional athlete. Those are like
the two options.
That's the two options. The in between was be a physical therapist, and I wanted to do that initially, but then I saw like, you got to be a doctor. You're working with old people, the healthcare system with insurance and the scam. And
that's so funny that you say that was your path, because that was my path initially.
Listen,
I went to school and I was going for a biology major because I wanted to be a physical therapist. Yeah. And then I interned at a clinic and I hated it. And I was like going into my junior year, and I was like, what do I want to do? Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't like the idea of someone getting injured, going to physical therapy, and you as the physical therapist having to unbreak this pattern that they've been doing something wrong for 20 years. And this pattern is only going to get worked at for the 50 or 75 sessions that your insurance covers. You're going to get hurt again, and then you're going to come back, and we're just going to keep circling through.
Well, that's the
process.
pattern if people don't have the persistence, right?
Which is majority of it.
Exactly. It was funny. Me too. I had back surgery 12 years ago, 13 years ago, something like that, because I had that pattern. So I I played basketball. I played at Hunter College. I played basketball. I would, after school, after I graduated, I'd get injured. I'd do physical therapy, feel better, stop physical therapy, play, feel worse again, physical therapy in the same pattern until I had back surgery. After I had back surgery, I was like, okay, well, I didn't play basketball for like 4.5, 5 years, but now physical therapy is part of my daily routine.
Yeah.
Which would have saved me from back surgery had I not been taught that tough lesson.
It's a switch that has to take place, right? And tying it back into the movement art, I understood how the body worked at a high level at a young age. So like in high school, I had anatomy and physiology. I went to like a college prep school. We were dissecting cow tracheas and all different types of stuff.
Where were you from originally?
I'm from Baltimore originally.
Are you from Baltimore? Okay.
Yeah. So
I thought you were from New York.
Man, no, I'm from Baltimore. I came here for college in 2009 and never left. So the interesting part is 3 more years in New York, half of my life would have been in New York, the other half would have been in Baltimore.
Right.
And I heard the conversation of like, do you say you're a New Yorker after that time? It's like, nah, I still identify as a Baltimorean Brooklynite. You know
what?
I mean?
I think there's a difference. I think you can call yourself a New Yorker, but you're not from New York.
Of course not. No.
So that's the difference.
I would never say I'm from New York. New York definitely curated me and raised me from my college years to adulthood now. But it wasn't the place that like I was born and raised in, so to speak. But yeah, man, I feel like understanding the body at a high level, like I understood that shit like rap lyrics, like the way a bicep work or how muscle.
And when did you start understanding it that way? And was your first injury in high school when you tore your ACL what changed your mind or made you want to study the body?
For sure. So it's my junior year. At that point, I played football, basketball every year, and we make it to the playoffs. So that playoff run overlaps with like basketball season. So they're like, yo, we got a spot for you as soon as y'all finish doing whatever you do. I'm like, bet. Simultaneously, I'm studying anatomy and physiology. So this class that I had, we're going through muscle contractions and things like that. And like, I'm literally getting it like a Jay-Z bar, like just understanding it like, oh, this goes here and it goes there and it goes there. And everybody else is struggling. Right. So my mom's like, this is a gift. Like, you should honor this. I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. And when I get hurt, which I later find out was on purpose. So
what do you mean you got hurt on purpose?
So I played sports my whole life. The first sport I played was soccer, and I knew how to kick a ball. In Baltimore, in the city, none of the high school football teams had a kicker because none of the kids knew how to kick a ball. So, like, being able to kick field goals is a winning advantage when everybody's going for 2. So I broke records in the city for kicking because no one ever fucking kicked, right? So with that being said, I was the starting tight end, starting defensive end, but I was the kicker and the punter. So I got hurt punting the ball. Like, I punted the ball, ridiculous punt too, like 60-some yards. Like,
oh, wow.
You know, and a kid bent my leg back and it snapped on sight. So
the ACL or?
The ACL. So
no broken bone though. It was soft tissue damage, right?
Soft tissue damage, snapped on sight.
Jeez.
And I tried to stand up. I couldn't stand up, so I just laid there. So that's when I later found out the ACL tear, all of that. Years later, I met someone from like that team, and it was like, oh yeah, the coach told us to hurt you on purpose. Because if I get hurt, now you lost the starting tight end, the starting defensive end, and you lost the kicker. And it's just like inner city sports and things of that nature. Like you don't have down south where you have 3 players for every position and everybody plays one position. It's like, nah, it was a badge of honor to play 3 different, positions on the field. So thinking about stuff like that, it's like, damn, man, that shit is crazy.
That's not good sportsmanship, man.
It isn't, but it's a part of the game. It's a learned experience. The second time around was definitely all me. Like,
how did it happen the second time?
Second time, man, I was playing outside that summer, like in the concrete. And
was it basketball or?
Basketball. Yeah. And because the first ACL tear, when I came back that following year, I got cut for the first time in my life, like my senior year. And you hear people talk about getting cut from the basketball team, and it's like, man, that shit is real.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially if you played for 3 years.
This was in LIU?
This was in Baltimore.
High school.
High school. So I still had that hoop dream in me. You know what I mean? I wanted to play. And when I got to college, I was there for 3 years at LIU, and they never had tryouts. My senior year, they finally put up a sign that said tryouts. I was like, tryouts? Like, what? Like, why not? I'll do it. But that summer, I was hooping every day in Brooklyn on Tillery Street, like downtown, right before the bridge. Like,
exactly.
Like, it's people to this day, if I walk down Fulton Street, they'll see me and be like, yo, what up? Like, and still show love just because I was hooping hard like that. And, man, I made the team, and I go from playing in the street to, like, now I'm on a D1 program where we have 6 a.m. lifting, and we lifting 3-a-days and all this other stuff. And I went from concrete to, like, jump squats and explosiveness and weight training. And this was stuff that I studied, but I wasn't stretching. Like, my stretching and mobility was like, I'm going to play lazy defense until my heart rate run up, and then I'll be fine. You know what I mean? It wasn't like ankle mobility and hip mobility. And
then they weren't doing that for you?
Yes and no. They create the space for you to do it.
But you have to do it,
But you got to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's the disconnect, again, that a lot of people just have about wellness in their bodies and, like, listening and communication to one another. So this long-winded story to get into the movement art of it is that once I understood how my body worked through injury, through studying it, and finding yoga and all this stuff, I'm like, yo, there's an art to movement that isn't really talked about, right? And being able to provide a space for people to explore that type of art, I think is what allows me to be that movement artist, you know?
So do you work for yourself as a movement artist?
Man, I wish, right?
So
that's the dream, you know?
What is the title you have?
That I work for, like, my day-to-day, or what we mean?
Yeah.
Day-to-day, I work as a hand-painted mural artist, right?
Oh, okay.
So, like, we paint murals all over the city. I work for a company. I ain't naming them because I ain't really like them like that. You know what I'm saying? So, cut the check if they want that mentioned. Yeah. But that's the day job. Yeah. I teach yoga on the weekends, and then I host, like, different events.
Where do you teach yoga?
A space in Bushwick. It's called Frequency Movement.
Okay.
So I teach a elevated class every Saturday, 10 a.m. We smoke a little bit, and then we flow, you know?
Okay.
So that's, like, the movement side of it, too. And I'm a biker. So I almost biked here today.
You cycle? I rode here?
Yeah.
It's right there.
I see it over there. I knew, but I was like, I'm going to take it easy today.
We do a lot of rides with outsiders. I don't mean to cut you off in your story, but we do a lot of cycling.
But when I found that out, I was like, yo, there's people that do what I do on a regular.
Yeah.
I'm there. That was it. And that's how I ended up there. You know?
So you do you have a day job, which is a creative outlet. You seem like a creative dude.
For sure.
You have your yoga stuff. You trying to do more of the movement arts yourself?
100%. Man, I feel like it's very rare that you get someone that's in the wellness world that moves into the art world, and vice versa. It's very rare that you see someone in the art world and they move into the wellness. I feel like when you do see it, it's their body is the representation. Like, oh, I'm a bodybuilder. I'm on stage. Like, this is my art. And I feel like there is a parallel between both, and a story that most people just aren't really telling. Mm-hmm. And I think about, you know, what happens when you put wellness into a museum, and people have to experience it like it is art. And will the switch in their mind then flip to be like, damn, I never thought about it like that. Like, that's kind of...
How would you what would that look like, putting wellness in a museum per se?
Man, my wildest dream is, I know you've been to Storm King before, right?
We're going...
Y'all going again,
not this Sunday, the next Sunday.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So first time I went there, I was on shrooms and I had the time of my life, right? At this point, I had already been, you know, taking shrooms for a while. So I was like, this seems like a great place to do it here. And being there, the only thing I could think about is, what does that specific place look like if there was wellness into it? So all of these larger in life pieces. What happens if I got to pull on this thing and now I'm getting a workout as I pull on it? Or like I got to push this thing up the hill or whatever the case may be, right? What happens?
That's a great idea.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's already outdoors.
Non-traditional too, which could work really well, and it's simple.
And it's simple, right? But if each piece was designed to be artistic in its own right, but then also you get a workout from doing it, right? Like that is what I want.
I think maybe you can start by doing workouts in places like that. Right?
Of course.
Because have you seen what I like about Storm King? One of the beautiful pieces is the rolling waves of the ground. The ground is turned into art. Mm-hmm. So they have this area where the ground is just like nonstop waves like this. And I could imagine like running up and down those hills to get a workout. I'm sure it would damage the property, so you have to figure something out.
At some point, right?
Right. But if you could somehow make that work, I mean, I would think working out in that environment would be less strenuous because your mind isn't thinking about the pain you're feeling by pushing yourself. It's more about, it's distracted by these beautiful pieces of art around.
And that's the switch, right? Because when we really unpack exercise, a lot of it can be traced back to punishment, especially if you played a sport. Like if you played a sport to the baseline, you know what I'm saying? And
17s, I'm like,
So when exercise is introduced to you as punishment, that stays with you. So in order to flip that switch, it almost has to be something so grandiose that's just like, oh, wow.
I guess for most people, for me, exercise has been a great outlet, a great resource. But like, and I remember those suicides at 17s, but that was more or less, it was punishment, but I don't look at it like, I don't look at all the aspects of working out or sports as punishment, whereas I'm sure some people might.
It's a variety for a lot of folks, you know, because there's people that didn't play sports and never had that exercise as punishment outlook. That exercise as punishment could have just been from, this is so hard, like I don't want to do this, and not knowing that like you don't have to do this hard thing every time. Like it could be something totally different.
Well, you're actually not supposed to start with it being so hard because then you don't want to do it. Yeah, exactly.
And that's the hard part, you know, and I feel like I've been working to tell a wellness story that just looks a little different. It's like, yo, you don't gotta be Arnold Schwarzenegger. You don't have to be vegan exclusively or like all of these other labels that people give you. It's like you can just exist and be.
Well, there's a book called Atomic Habits that talks about building habits, right? Mm-hmm. It's through routine, but doing something that's really sustainable, right? So if you're going to try to build a new habit, it can't be extremely hard to start. It's got to be something that's easy, light, fun, easy to get into. Barrier to entry is minimal. Yeah. So I love, you know, everyone when they reach out to us about outsiders, newbies, are like, hey, I've got these emails pretty often. Hey, I'm not in the best shape. I've never hiked. Am I going to be okay? I'm like, you'll be fine. Like for the most part, if ever there's a hike that's a little more, like there's one of my favorite hikes, and Chris did it, is Stairway to Heaven. But it's
I've heard stories about this.
It's a great place. Yeah. I'm not sure what stories you heard. There are some funny stories to be heard about this place. But what I love about it is the first half or 3/4 or whatever is it's like this boardwalk through marshland. So it's very easy. Then you walk through pretty flat foresty areas and you get to probably take you a good hour to get through, but it's nice. It's easy. But as you get to soak in nature, like it's a great vibe. Yeah. You cross this railroad and then you get to this cow pasture and there's cows there. You walk through the cow pasture and you get to a road. And then I stop everyone and say, all right, the next portion of this hike is going to be an intense climb. So for the next 45 minutes, we're going up. We hang out there for 30 minutes, and we're coming back down. If you don't feel like climbing up because it is intense-ish, it's not intense for a normal hiker. It's intense for somebody who never moves, right? Yeah. So if you don't want to do it, there's a farm right here that makes homemade ice cream. We'll meet you back here when we're done. Yeah. But if you want to see the view up there, come with us. And there's nothing wrong with those who say no because they know that they've already hiked and maybe that hike so far has been enough of a challenge for them for that day. Yeah. And those who know their boundaries, fantastic. You're not, and on top of that, you're not gonna be holding back those who want to move anyway. But yeah, well, I think that's the only times that we are challenging like that. Everything else is like welcome to every level.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people do need that push, but then there's also the people that the push is them just showing up.
100%.
You know, and it's like, all right, this is that baby step that they spoke of. Just speaking of hikes, I took one of my friends to, I forget the name. I know they have like a fire tower. So like
Beacon.
Beacon.
Yeah.
We went up there. And that's not like a easy hike. It's
the first 30 minutes suck. The first 45 minutes are, I should say, I have no problem with it.
Yeah.
But people have yelled at me and they're like, why didn't you tell us? I'm like, it's only 30 minutes or 45 minutes. And the rest of the hike is, I won't say easy, but it's easy.
You're going up.
Yeah.
Like you said before. And we get to the top and we get to this fire tower. And I'm all the way up at the top. And my boy kind of stops at the bottom a little bit. And he was... I guess he was scared a little bit. And
it is an intimidating fire tower
because it can waver
in the
wind. It's like, moves. Oh man, this is falling over.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yo, come on up. Be like, yeah, I'll be there in a minute. And he never got past those first couple of steps. And when we, finished, got back in the car and everything, he was like, man, like I was so scared at that point. And I was like, yo, that's you stopping you.
Yeah.
Right. And that was like a life lesson for him. It's like, damn, I never want to hold myself back again like that. And I was like, see, that's what that hike was for,
That fire tower, that makes me nervous. That fire tower goes to the top.
Yeah, for sure.
But I'm the type, I'm like, all right, I'm going up.
Just
and I'm going up scared. They say, what's the saying? If you're scared to do something, do it scared.
Wait, but what's this fire? What's this fire tower?
At Beacon. So you get to the top of the end of the Beacon Trail. I forgot what trail it is, but at Beacon. Mm-hmm. And the last point where we go to is like this open space on rock on the peak, and there's a fire tower. Basically, it's like a tower people can go up and. I guess I don't know what the purpose was.
Probably like a lookout tower for like forest fires, maybe?
Sounds, okay. I was going to say that, yeah.
All right.
But it basically, it's pretty wide at the base and narrows like a tower. But you get to the top, and if it's a windy day, you feel it swaying.
Oh, okay.
And there's a fear of falling, right? Because also the whole tower is like a grade, like metal grade. So you can see all the way down to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have any sort of fear of heights, which I do, not like overwhelming, but enough, I think maybe just instinctually, that you'll be nervous doing it, right? So I go up there to confront my fears and feel good about myself.
Not to mention, it's still New York, so you got people writing on the steps, all types of asshole shit. Like, you're gonna die.
Yeah, there's good.
It'll be like, don't tip over.
Yeah,
like, come on.
It's like everything that your mind is thinking. There's some graffiti kid who's like probably drunk as hell with no fear,
exactly,
trying to like
scare you on the way up.
Exactly. But again, it's intimidating without those scary words written. But it's a feeling of accomplishment when you get up.
For sure. If you hike a mountain in a day, you won that day. Like there's no other.
Honestly, it goes beyond that. It goes back to what you do. You're a moving artist. If you get up and move, right? You get out of bed, you move, you do something. You set your mind, and it's something small or whatever. You win. A lot of people don't do that.
Yeah, I feel like, man, living on Earth, you gotta pay rent. Rent is due every day. Like, Did you sweat? Did you move? Did you stretch? Did you do something that is going to benefit you or at least cover what you had to pay for that day?
I love that.
Yeah.
That's great.
I mean, that's how I live life. And I want other people to feel that way,
I mean, they say life is a constant struggle, right? Doesn't mean it's negative, but it's a constant struggle. You have to, I think that everyone needs purpose in their life to live, right? So you hear about these people that retire after years and don't do anything, and they die within 3-4 years. I think the human psyche, whatever you want to say, needs that challenge of survival. And if you're not trying to survive, then what's the body got to live for? I don't know. Maybe that's a little dark, but yeah.
I mean, I think purpose is something that I've been fortunate enough to find at a young age. And I really do feel for people who don't have that type of just belief or vision for themselves. And in order to gain it, it takes so much work, you know.
What was the purpose you found for yourself so early on?
For me, I found that I truly had a gift in sharing movement with people, regardless of what that movement was like. So if it was teaching yoga, if it was teaching mobility, if it was teaching my homies how to play ball who never knew how to play ball, like, yo, this is what a drop step is. Like, this is how you need to pivot and open up. Like, but living for that, like, aha moment where you can see information like hit somebody's forehead and they just, oh man, I never thought about it like that. Like that moment, when I found that, it's like when I hear comedians talk about that first laugh when they made somebody laugh for the first time, or like, you know, I don't know, a musician hearing their song on the radio. Like I got that feeling of like, yo, I can help people. Yeah. And that's what my purpose then just began to revolve around that, you know. Yeah,
I mean, for me, I feel like I've found, before I was doing Outsiders, it was, and I say this every episode, I was in nightlife, but events, but I was helping people through that environment, right? But that no longer appeals to me. So building a community and building that around and giving people community is what makes me happy. And finding that in an environment that's healthier, an environment that doesn't have a shelf life, and a new path. Like no one's really doing what Outsiders is doing. There's hiking clubs, there's cycling clubs, but there's no one doing everything. Like we're going to Storm King, we do outdoor art centers, we're doing, you know, climbing, kayaking, like everything, which I love.
I love that stuff too. And again, it was realizing there's other people doing it. And I don't think we realized the importance of community until we lost it, until that pandemic and you all alone or just confined to your closest people. Community is what we need to thrive and to really just exist, to be better people as a whole.
Sure. I mean, during the pandemic, a lot of people think I launched this during the pandemic. I didn't. I launched it like 4 years before, but a lot of people saw it or paid attention because they needed it during and after the pandemic. So the pandemic was, in a way, I mean, it was a terrible thing for the world, but in a way it was helpful because it opened their eyes to more the priorities in their life.
Of course. That was when I started to experiment with mushrooms, solely because I'm like, yo, if the world is done, I got to try this. Like, I got to see what the hype is about.
That's when you first tried mushrooms?
Yeah.
Wait, you microdosing?
No, I was diving in. I was full-fledged. Give me the eighth.
Were you just like getting like your hand in the bag and just like,
well, I had some fruit with me, you know, to help digest. But man, it was eye-opening, truly. Yeah. Just because I felt like it allowed me to find my place in space amongst like the earth. Like you never really think about you being earthly, you know. It was like, yo, the first time I did it, I'm looking at this puddle of mud for about 20 minutes, right? And
I'm laughing because like that's funny.
It is.
I'm not saying.
Imagine the dude just sitting on the bench, just gazing at this mud, and I'm looking at this mud, and I'm like, yo, it's breathing. Like it's inhaling and exhaling. I'm like, yo, the mud is alive. Like, oh shit. And I'm like, it's brown. What else is brown? Trees are brown. I'm brown. Dirt is brown. Shit is brown. Like, and I'm just going down this rabbit hole of like, again, your place in space of like, yo, at the end of the day, I'm going back in the mud, you know, like it's the beginning profound. And the end. And I'm like, damn, that shit is crazy. But that was like, just like my mind being opened to other reasons of my existence, you know.
You know what? So me and Manny moved into the studio in 2019. He was the first tattoo artist.
Yeah.
And we would play board games sometime. Like he would put out a giant board game on the table. And I don't smoke weed. And the one day I smoked with him. And I literally sat over here where his table is, and I was looking at the ceiling, thinking about how I'm going to put up lights. And I could have swore it was like 45 minutes. It was like 2 minutes, not even, probably like 20 seconds. I turn around and I see Manny's on his phone. I was like, yo, this dude's been on his phone for like 25 minutes texting somebody. I was like, yo, I got to go. And I literally left. And I sat on the porch of my building for like 45 minutes, just sitting there staring. Because I heard a garbage truck coming. And I never saw it, but I heard it coming down the block.
Oh, my God.
And I was like, yo, I'm not smoking weed with this fool ever again.
Get him some mushrooms. See what happens.
You got to be prepared for what you're stepping into. But
were you? I was having this conversation with somebody this past weekend. She did ayahuasca, and she was saying it was calling her for 6 years. It was calling her. And she's like, you know what it's called? Did you experience something like that with mushrooms? Was it calling you?
I can't say that it was calling me, so to speak. It was just something that I genuinely wanted to try. After trying it, I will say that like there was times when I longed for a hard reset again, because it's almost like you're shaking up your reality. Like at some point, you gotta question everything you believe in and see if you really believe in it. You know?
Did you have that prior to mushrooms, or mushrooms was what shook that up?
I was a curious person, but I feel like mushrooms allowed me to not only expand on that curiosity, but have specificity to like what made me curious in the first place. It's like, oh, this was the reason I felt like this. And like having a clear path and clarity was priceless to me.
You know, I watched that Netflix special. I don't know if it's Fantastic Fungi or Fungi. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but it's really interesting how they talk about mushrooms being the neural network for the forest and for nature, and then how it can create new neural connections in your brain. I've never done it, but I do find it fascinating.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't do it recreationally. I will say that. Like,
do you do it medicinally?
For sure.
Yeah.
It's very, I would even say medicinally, but more like a ritual almost. Like there's a ceremony. You can't just get into it. It's like, no, we got to set our intentions. The environment has to be right. And then we go on to this journey.
I've had a few friends that told me they did that way. Then I have some friends that are like at a party popping
My boy was like,
pills.
yo, you want to take these shrooms and go to Yams Day at the Barclays Center? I was like, no, I actually don't want to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's too much sensory detail. Like,
Yeah.
you trying to have me have a seizure with all these lights and shit. It's like, nah, I'm good on that, you know?
That's hilarious. All right, so you told me where you're from, told me what you studied. What are your goals and dreams?
Man, my goals and dreams seem to be all over the place, right? Like, end goal is having that Storm King, like, wellness activation. Like, I really want that. Like, not even in a joking way. Like, I think that should exist. Right?
And now, would it be your own grounds for art, or would it be at a place like Storm King?
I would want a place like that. It doesn't even have to be my work.
Have you written this down yet? Like,
no, it's all up
okay.
there.
You should put it down, and then I would love to actually see if you. Because we're in contact with Storm King,
of course,
and do a workout thing, a movement.
All we need is
special.
one. We get one piece, and it's going up. You know, like
it's worth exploring. I think it's a great idea. I think
for sure.
You know, one of the reasons why I work out at Chelsea Piers, I love Chelsea Piers, but one of the reasons I love working out there is because there's big windows on the water. Mm-hmm. So I'm seeing sunlight, I'm seeing water, which is calming, and the environment is just perfect for me to spend 2 hours, 3 hours on a workout a few times a week.
Yeah.
So I'm imagining being in the middle of nature working out, and then also incorporating art. So there's a dynamic of these different angles in industrial art plus nature plus this workout. I'm in. I'm sold. Like,
that's the space that I live in. And I think the dream for me is to earn the right to get there, right? Like, this sounds good.
You have it already. What do you need? What do you need? What right do you need? You have the right. Now you just need to get the stuff on paper.
That part. I feel like especially with the way the world works now and social media and things of that nature, it's almost like it's the people that have the money and are looking to invest, or the companies that have that type of backing financially, often look for like, oh, we want to do with all the followers and this person
Yeah,
and
but
that person.
I think you start off with proof of concept at a place like Storm King first.
This is also true. And I have not put anything in motion to get that off the ground yet. But the idea is there for
There's
sure.
a built-in community that wants to do this already.
This is also true, which is why I'm here today,
there
man.
We go. There we go.
But yeah, that's all.
So that's
the
your
dreams.
goal. That's a great goal to have. I think that's, I'm always for everyone forging a new path.
For sure.
And that's something new I've never heard of. So you better do it because it's great.
Look, man, I said it on camera. It has to happen now.
There you go.
It's out into the universe.
There we go. Manifest it, but work towards it.
All the above.
All right. So what advice would you give high school you at this point?
Damn. High school me. That's tough. I feel like high school me was so caught up in what I thought was fashionable at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was either Kanye West or Jim Jones. Like that was the only way I was dressing.
Right.
I was either the polo nerd kid or True Religion and Nike boots and wallet chains and shit like that. And I spent so much money on Jordans that I dogged at the basketball court that came out again for 3 times the price. And I'm just like, fuck. Like I spent so much money on meaningless items, and I didn't know how to like take care of those items that I had. Right?
Now, would you go back and buy the items again and keep them in good condition, or would you say these items, I don't need these items? What would you do?
I would still have them because I feel like it was pivotal. It was pivotal to the person I am today, right?
Okay.
Like you grow in different stages, and I needed that stage to grow in. I would have kept them in good condition. Like I ran across a friend of mine who sells like his vintage Ralph Lauren, all that stuff, and I was like, yo, like I had half of this shit, but like I had deodorant stains on it and all types of stuff that like wouldn't sell or be valuable. And I was like, if only I kept it clean and pristine like you would, I could sell them. And he was like, damn. So
yeah, but it's also meant to be used. You used it the way it's supposed to be used.
I did, indeed. I didn't win Best Dressed in the yearbook. I got snubbed, but everybody knows.
Yeah,
it was me, for sure.
Gotcha. What's your favorite part of Outsiders? And that has a follow-up question with what's your experience like in the outdoors as a person of color? Do you feel like your experience is unique to you? And I don't know what's your experience like? I'm not going to guide anymore.
Man, Outsiders, first and foremost, my favorite part is that it exists, right? Like, let's just celebrate that for a minute. And because, again, this is something I've always done. Like, I've always been outside. As a kid, I tell people, like, I was like a caramel, like, almost light kind of baby. Like, the sun, I was outside every day and turned brown. You get what I'm saying? like I just got this permanent tan. But the outside was always a place for exploration, right? And as I got older, I found myself longing for those spaces, whether it was sport, whether it was a hike, whether it was camping, visiting a creek. Like, I needed some nature, I needed some woods, I needed to get dirty.
And how old were you when you started feeling those needs to be in nature?
I would say is ever since I was born, like, you know what I mean? And old enough to go outside with my cousins, like, we were always outside. Like, that's just
I was
what
always
we did.
outside. Always. Like, I always needed to be outside, whether it be riding my BMX around town or whatever. But in regards to nature, I didn't really realize the benefits of that until adulthood. I mean, in my 30s.
Yeah, I would say if we're talking nature-wise, the benefit from it, I would say 20s when I first started to travel. Like the first time I left the country, I went to Jamaica and we went on a hike out there and we went to this bar that was in like the middle of the ocean. It was one of those. I was like, yo, this is my first time being on a boat and like I don't see anything around me. Like I could be gone right now.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, we really outside now. Yeah. So that almost fear that I had to stay there. I couldn't like get off and be like, yo, let's hit this U-turn. It was like, no, we here now, you know? So I would say definitely like early 20s when I started to realize the benefit of it and just like traveling.
Gotcha. And it's like it makes you understand like your place in the world and your relevance when you're in a place like that. Like,
of course,
you're not the center of the universe when you're in the middle of the ocean. Like,
you aren't.
It's scary,
and you could be gone, and nobody would know.
Exactly.
To answer the other question about being a person of color, like an outside in that regard, I feel like I grew up in Baltimore. If anybody doesn't know Baltimore, like The Wire,
My sister lives there.
You know what I mean? That's typically
she does Outward Bound. She takes inner city youth to
any place that has the inner city youth programs.
Yes.
Like you know, it's just a little rough around the edges, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I feel like the hard part about stuff like that is because it's so city-like and it's different than New York. Like New York, you can have a $1 million condo next to the projects. In Baltimore, the projects is the projects. Like it ain't no new development by it. It's like, nah, you don't go over there, right? So that part is different. So less people are outside and hiking, and it's looked at as like, oh, that's some white shit. Like I ain't doing that shit. Like it's so anti-black that it's like a very bad relationship, and that's when I come in like, yo, you got to change that wellness palette. Like you got to expand because it's detrimental to your health.
It's funny because like I've seen part of the reason why I was into hiking was it was so vanilla, and I grew up here, and why would I want to walk around in the woods? Well, what's the benefit? I see it now as an adult. I enjoy it tremendously, but yeah, I mean. I remember somebody telling me we put a post, Outsiders put up a post about making outdoors more accessible and how it should be more inclusive and so on. And somebody wrote to me like, it's always been accessible. What do you mean inclusive? They never said no to people of color. Like, no, but it's more of a socioeconomic thing. And if you don't see anyone like you doing it, you're not going to feel comfortable going and doing it, right? So, I mean, those are the changes we're trying to make. Like, I think it's great to see groups like Black people outside, Black women hiking, all these different things. But I also like the fact that we do everybody. I want a place where everybody of diversity can come and connect, because then you understand each other better.
Of course,
that's what we do.
And I love that space that's been created because I felt that vibe being there. Like I showed up, I was dolly.
Let's hear about your experience for that hike with us.
Man, I showed up like, all right, I got this free ticket. Jamal, who invited me, wasn't there. You weren't there.
I was supposed to be there, but I injured my leg. Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, cool. I mean, I'm enjoying myself regardless. And I feel like at different points along the hike, like you just start talking to people because we going through it. We doing this together, and people start to open up, and it is almost very elementary is the best way to put it, because you're then relying on your people skills. Like that's like day one. How did your parents raise you to talk to people? And I was always a talkative kid. When I was young, I was the little kid that would walk up to couples and be like, so y'all love each other?
What?
Right? Like, so why don't you marry her? Like I was that kid.
Making the guy feel super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like, shut up, kid.
Exactly. But I was one of those kids because in my mind, like I wanted to get to the meat and potatoes of conversations. Like I ain't want small talk. Like I don't want to talk about cartoons. I want to talk about life and real shit. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Okay. Because I came back to the pickup area when you guys got dropped off. And you looked like you had a great time.
We was laughing.
And everybody did. I actually felt FOMO because I was like, damn, I missed this.
No, it was a great time. I definitely connected with some folks, and you would have thought we knew each other for years.
That's a great part. Because usually if you meet somebody in a place, a traditional social setting like a bar, just the initial conversation, if you're talking to a woman, it's going to be the assumption that you want to sleep with her. And if you're talking to a dude, sometimes it's just awkward. Like, why are you talking to me? So I love the fact that I can meet new people, whether it be male, female, and just have a conversation that doesn't seem weird. Yeah, because it's like a level playing field.
Of course.
What's your most embarrassing moment?
Man, I've heard you ask this question before. Yeah, and I was trying to pontificate on what that was exactly, and I want to say I was with my grandmother. We were in the mall in Baltimore, and New York doesn't really have like malls like that.
Jersey
I
does,
feel like
but New York
Jersey,
City does. Look,
Long
Island does,
Island.
Queens, Brooklyn, but New York, like really New York, no.
Yeah. So we were in a mall that had a wishing well.
Yeah.
I feel like wishing wells were so like a 90s
The 80s,
kind of
90s thing. Yeah.
thing. You throw coins and you wish in there. So we're in the mall, and the wishing well has like stairs that like lead down to it, and each of these stairs had like a little bench you would sit on.
Mhm.
So I'm a kid. I'm hopping from one to the other. Like I was that athletic kid. That's all I wanted to do. My grandmother was like, "You getting close to that edge? You better stop." I'm like, "I'm good. I don't need none of that." And I hopped on the third one, slipped, lost my balance, fell right into the wishing well, and it's like I'm soaked now. Like my grandmother is pissed. I gotta walk back to the car. My shoes are squeaking with water. I'm leaving like this trail, like a snail trail, all throughout the mall. And they're just like, "Yo, this kid is wild." And like my grandmother was pissed, you know. But that's the kind of kid I was.
How old were you?
Man, definitely
19.
No, right? It was elementary school, man. This is like first and
is 3
second
weeks
grade,
ago.
right? I wish, you know what I mean?
That'd be so funny.
Yeah, it's like, "Yo, what's up, this dude, bro?"
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. At least it doesn't involve like shitting your pants like some other people did.
I heard about that
Oh,
on the run.
Oh, yeah.
26 shits later.
26
Look, he even knows how many shits it was.
I was listening, man.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Self-inflicted shits.
Sorry, Ken.
Yeah, Ken.
Oh man.
No, Ken, you hold the title. Ken holds the title.
For most embarrassing.
I think so. Beast Javier. Who else?
Yeah, he does.
Ken holds the title.
Yeah.
Ken holds the title 100%. I mean, his most embarrassing moment went into the highlight reel. Like, that's good stuff.
For bad stuff for him, but good stuff.
I mean, he was proud to share it. I mean, you know, if you can laugh at yourself, you're good.
That's it.
You're
Yeah.
good. And anyone who tells me like an authentic, really embarrassing story is good.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so is there anything you want to share that I haven't asked you?
Man, anything I want to share? Not really. I feel like we covered a lot of bases.
Well, you got a
man.
podcast. Share that.
Man, I do. The podcast is called Off the Strength, and we've been doing it for 4 years. And it started with 4 of us that were just wellness professionals. And 2 of us had worked at Equinox. One owned a brick and mortar. The other worked at, his own kind of business and entrepreneurialism. And it's like, yo, we know all of these different people. We can come together and have a wellness conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the hard part about being in wellness, I was a personal trainer for years, was selling my time. Like one-on-one, day-to-day, like I'm booked out 10, 12 hours a day. I don't want to talk to nobody anymore,
Right. Yeah.
you know? And it was, how can I be more effective outside of not being in the gym, but still giving people the information that they need? And I was like, let's podcast. And that's kind of what that happened. That's how that happened. 4 years later, we're still doing it.
Wow. Well, where can they find your podcast?
We got kicked off of Spotify.
What?
For reasons I don't know why yet, but
They give no clue why?
I think it was because we had music, but like everybody has music. I don't really know.
Yeah, but if you listen to a lot of these guys now, they go to that royalty free commercial like that. You could there's a few I'm not gonna name, but there's a few different websites you can actually download royalty free music.
Yeah, we get that for the videos, but
Yeah.
that's why they kicked you off. That's crazy.
Which is nuts. But we're on Apple and pretty much everywhere else you can find a podcast.
Nice. All right. Check that out. Off the Strength.
Off the Strength.
Great name.
Yeah.
I like that.
We outside the gym.
Exactly.
You know?
Off the Strength. I mean, I see all that.
But see, that's like
multiple meanings.
The word, right? I pulled up today off the strength of meeting you, off of having that interaction on the outsiders of like, fuck, I never come to Jersey, but like we here today.
We're here
off
today.
the strength. You know what I mean?
Off the Strength.
It was an adventure.
From Brooklyn?
From Brooklyn.
You crossed 2 rivers to be here.
Just to be here.
Appreciate that.
You know, so I'm here.
All right. You've watched the episodes. This is the time for the 5 rapid fire questions.
Oh man. All right, I'm here.
You ready?
Let's do it.
All right. What's your favorite city other than New York City?
Baltimore, of course.
Baltimore, hands down. Okay, you're from there. Is there another one you?
Man, if it wasn't Baltimore, I would have to say probably Cali. Like LA.
Okay.
Yeah, I like LA.
Well, we launched Outsiders LA recently, so
Nice.
if ever you go there, your favorite city, we got Outsiders.
I hiked the Hollywood sign out there.
Yeah, everyone's telling me about hiking the Hollywood sign. I'm like, that's cool. We're probably not going to do that. If you could do any other profession, what would you do?
If I could do any other profession, I would be R&B singer.
Can you sing?
No, not at all.
What kind of R&B singer would you be? Give me a reference to an artist that you would like to see yourself be like.
Man, I would want to be on some like old school Marvin Gaye type shit.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like the love, the vibes, but then also you get into some spiritual, world changing shit too. You know what I mean? Yeah.
'Cause we were listening to music, and we had a little R&B playlist on the Zion trip. We spent a lot of time on the road, and somebody started putting like Brian McKnight,
Oh yeah.
Donnell Jones, Joe, Case, Tank, all these people that
That's a very specific time in music, right?
exactly.
There. Yeah.
I mean, this is what the playlist was for this person. And we realized there's no R&B like that anymore. There's more like, there's Frank Ocean, there's Miguel, but those are different kind. I mean, Miguel maybe is closer, but Frank Ocean is like this very different kind of artist. And there's no R&B like that anymore.
I would beg to differ. I feel like there is, only because I find it, but you got to search for it.
Yeah, I guess
And
it's not mainstream anymore.
It's not mainstream, and it's very rarely a full body of work. It'll be like a song. It'll be like, yo, they caught a vibe on this one song, but you're not going to get a whole album like that anymore, you know?
Understood. All right, so R&B singer.
For sure.
All right, interesting. What's your vice?
My vice? I would say, damn. My vice would have to be, I would probably say weed, just cause like
Do you smoke every day?
Not every day, but most days.
Yeah.
And I feel like there was some times where like I had to check myself, like when you just like, I'm not even getting high right now. Like, why are we doing this? You know?
Well, when you don't smoke, do you have trouble sleeping? Or do you get irritable? Or like, do you notice negative, like almost like withdrawal symptoms from?
I wouldn't say it's a withdrawal. It's just more of an awareness of like, oh, I'm sober. Like, I can,
more clarity.
Yeah, I can feel the difference. And I think holding space for that, and then also realizing that like I don't need to do it. This is something that I enjoy, and making that distinction is pivotal for just again that clarity that I'm always in search of.
I like that response.
Yeah.
What's your greatest fear?
Man, I was thinking about that too along the way. And I feel like my greatest fear would be miscommunication, right? Because I don't really have a problem with being misunderstood. I think there's a difference between the two. Like, if you don't understand what I'm doing, cool. But if I can articulate to the best of my ability and you still don't get it, then it's like, all right, we ain't nothing I can do about that. And
have you experienced that? I mean, I'm assuming the only time I've really experienced that personally, no, I would say traveling to another country was a language barrier, but I've also experienced it in relationships when it's like I'm trying to explain something very clearly and
you don't get it.
Well, because in my mind it's clear, I may not be communicating it to them in a way that they understand.
For sure. And I was in a relationship like that too. Terrible times, you know. But you learn from it and you grow. And what I found was I didn't have the language to articulate in a way that she needed to understand at that time, you know. And I feel like once you have a common language with somebody, then it makes, you know, that communication a lot easier.
It's funny, Jamal and I had a little tiff one time. Basically, it was like a communication. I didn't understand his communication style. Jamal's an engineer.
Yeah.
He's extremely literal, like very literal. I mean, so basically, it was funny. We look back and laugh at it. But when we were sponsored by Volvo, we'd have to go pick up the Volvos together, and then we'd pick up one or two in Manhattan, and we'd go up to Mahwah and pick up the other ones. We'd get like 4 or 5 per outing.
Yeah.
And I told him to meet me on 40th and 11th. So, or 41st and 11th, I forgot whatever the address, 41st and 11th. No, sorry, 43rd and 11th. And then, so I tell him that, and then he sends me an address, which I didn't even bother looking. He said, this 43rd and 11th, 43rd and 11th. I just said yes, right?
That is a dangerous
I
time.
forgot what it was. Anyway,
Yeah.
so I get there and I'm there with Pat, and Jamal's like, "Yo, I don't see it. I'm across the street." I'm like, "Well, where are you? What do you see?" And he's telling me. I'm like, "What? What are you talking about?" Turns out he's in Long Island City on 43rd Avenue and 11th Street.
Yes.
And I'm like, "What are you doing there?"
Yep.
Anytime someone says 43rd 11th in Manhattan, it's 43rd Street and 11th Avenue. There's no mixing that up. But also, he's from Philly.
Yeah.
But his communication is extremely literal. And it's funny, his girlfriend has been extremely supportive of Outsiders, and she's wonderful. And her and I laugh about his communication style because we're like, we know now how literal it have to be. Like, tell Jamal where to be. You have to give him an address with his zip code. Like, we give
That's
everything.
a real
You
thing.
know what? That's how I give everybody the address. So if they would come in here, I always put the zip code. Like, listen, put the zip code.
Well,
just so you know.
It's not just the zip code, but it's the physical address. Whereas in Manhattan, sometimes you just meet on the corner, right? I can't do that with Jamal. I have to give him a physical address. But he's an engineer. That's how his brain works. And that's the beauty of how his brain works, because he can problem solve a lot better than I can with certain situations, right?
Yeah.
But I was laughing, like me and Pat were just laughing our ass off, like who the hell would think 43rd Avenue, 11th Street? But I get it. Two factors. He thinks differently, and he's also not from here. So
Yeah, I learned that too in podcasting, because we had an interview set up, sent somebody the address,
Yeah.
much like you meet here and here. They was in Jersey, and it was like, who? No, we don't record in Jersey.
Yeah.
We record in Manhattan. So I get that.
yeah,
And people aren't good with directions either. So that's a whole nother side to it.
I got a side question. Do you guys record? Like, you guys rent studio space to record stuff?
We actually record in the bottom of Rockefeller Center.
Okay.
So we have they have a window you can kind of peek into, and
Yeah.
we just record on the weekends.
really.
Yeah.
And it's part of NBC or something, or
We are part of, they have a podcast collective, so to speak. I'm probably saying all of this wrong. I don't really know. I just know we record there.
Interesting. Let's
You
more
know.
know.
No,
about.
because I know it's your boy Mike hit me up. He was looking for a place to do a podcast in the city.
Nice. Oh, so we can give him that info if he's
Yeah.
up for it. All right.
For sure.
Last question, and we
What's
spoke
up?
about this when you got here. Is
Man.
what is your favorite food? So, but you had a great response, right?
Yeah.
So you get a pass. So your response was, you don't necessarily have a favorite food, which is understandable. I think everyone can understand they may not have a favorite food because there's so many great foods to choose from.
Yeah.
But then you said, it depends on where I'm at. I'm like, absolutely.
For sure.
If you're in LA, Texas, Paris, wherever you are. So I want to ask you your three favorite cities: New York, Baltimore, and LA. What are your three favorite foods in those cities?
If I'm in Baltimore, we have to get some type of seafood. That's what it's known for. Whether it's a crab cake, some crab legs, a bushel of crabs.
Right.
It's revolving around some
Yeah,
sort of crab for the most part. Contrary to popular belief, New York has the best pizza. Like,
Contrary to popular belief.
because people people don't know what
Who
good
are you
pizza
talking
is.
to?
I know
Popular
people.
belief is that New York has the best pizza.
I know
for
people
street
that
stuff.
live here and will eat Domino's and like chain pizza, and I'd be like,
Who are these people? They're not from here.
100%.
First off, also, what's funny is I was in Chicago this past weekend, and I was talking to the Uber driver,
deep
and he was
dish ain't
saying,
pizza. That's pasta and bread.
no, he says a casserole or something like that.
Yeah,
it's a casserole.
That's literally what it is. It's like a pizza casserole.
But he's like, and I'm not saying, listen, whatever your mood is, right? If you're in the mood for a deep dish pizza, take a deep dish pizza or a thin crust, whatever. But he was saying his favorite pizza is a foldable slice. There's something about that on-the-go foldable slice. And for me, it's also nostalgic. Like, I remember hot summer days having New York City slice of pizza and a fountain soda was amazing. Like, to me,
It was affordable. It was attainable. It was filling. You know, it was shareable.
It tastes good.
All the things.
So that's New York. New
LA.
York. So New York's pizza.
York's
Real quick,
pizza.
do you have a favorite pizza spot?
Damn, favorite pizza spot.
It's okay if you don't.
I don't. I feel like it's all over the place.
Okay.
I no loyalty on the pizza.
No problem.
Yeah.
LA.
Tacos. You gotta get some like
kind?
streetcar, like you gotta pull up to the parking lot and
Authentic Mexican or Tex-Mex, or I heard there's like actually another kind, New Mexico. But
authentic Mexican for the
Yeah.
most part. I'm not opposed to Tex-Mex, but I'll take the authentic Mexican first.
What taco do you go for?
Man, I'm a El Pastor.
Ooh, pineapple?
Yeah,
Yes.
you know what I mean. little barbacoa if they got it, depending on where they at. You know,
we went to Mexico City for Dia de los Muertos in October, November.
Been wanting to do that since I saw James Bond do it. You know,
it was amazing. It definitely should. I recommend it. And the first night we're there, we go to Lucha Libre, the wrestling, and then we finish it off at this place called what was it called? It was a taco spot near the hotel, but it was a famous one.
Yeah.
And I had 10 tacos. It was so good.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And Al Pastor was like the best. Those are great answers. I think those are all what these cities are known for.
I mean, but that's what it's about. Is I think going to spaces where it's curated for that.
Yeah.
Like music sounds better in the place that it was made in. Like Biggie sounds amazing in Brooklyn. You know what I mean? If I'm in LA, I need the taco. You know?
Yeah.
If I'm in New York, I'm getting a slice on the go. You know?
Yeah. There's always like a random like, I don't know, like I've been to like a really good Indian spot, like, but like it's not like an Indian restaurant. It's like a taxi stand vendor, which you walk in, there's nowhere to sit. You just stand up, eat your food at the counter. It's amazing. But
sure.
I feel like you can find that in any city if you know if you have somebody to take you. That's all the questions I have, man. I appreciate it. Anything you want to add?
Man, my favorite food outside of that is food for thought. I was saving that, you know what I mean?
Nice.
That's it, man. But thank you for having me.
Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you, sir.
I'm looking forward to doing some collaborations and looking forward to going with Storm King and get a workout with you.
Off the strap.
Off the strength. Off the strength. Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, man.
All right.